Practical Anarchy, Guide to Self-Determination, Dickie Dredd. Part 90, Culture, Creativity and Everyday Life. Anarchism is not just about dismantling institutions, it is equality about what fills the space once hierarchy is gone. Culture, creativity and everyday life are where freedom is lived, celebrated and sustained. Earlier section already showed how growing food, repairing, reusing and crafting are everyday anarchist acts. Here we extend that insight to cultural level, as festivals, music, art, rewilding, permaculture and communal creativity. Festivals, music and temporary freedom. Festivals and gatherings have long been more than entertainment. They are rehearsals for different ways of living. Countercultural convoys and raves demonstrated that shared music and art can generate temporary autonomous zones where money and hierarchy recede. Free festivals in the UK, the Goa trance scene in India, and carnival traditions in the Caribbean all illustrate how cultural celebration can suspend everyday alienation and point to communal futures. These events do not simply entertain, they model how resources, creativity and joy can be shared outside of the market. Modern examples continue the tradition. Community festivals rooted in food sovereignty, climate camps linking activism with art, and even informal street gatherings show that music and creativity remain powerful tools for building solidarity. Joy itself becomes infrastructure, not a luxury, but the ground on which resistance and resilience stand. Rejecting the work weekend divide. The work weekend split is a capitalist invention tied to wage slavery and the commodification of time. Leisure is rationed, confined to evenings and weekends, while work is cast as obligation. In a free society, everyday creativity, cooking, gardening, building, storytelling, care, would no longer be relegated to hobbies squeezed in after shifts, be recognised as the essence of life. Earlier sections' vision of resource councils already points to a redistribution of labour, freeing time for pursuits that nurture rather than drain. Its rejection of the split recalls Ivan Illich's argument that industrial society colonised time itself, creating a scarcity of leisure that was previously unknown. An anarchist world would reverse this logic. The rhythm of life shaped not by time clocks, but by seasons, festivals and communal cycles. Rewilding, permaculture and ecological creativity. Rewilding and permaculture extend this ethos into the ecological sphere. They remind us that creativity is not only human, but entwined with ecosystems. Restoring rivers, reintroducing species and designing gardens for biodiversity become collective artworks, reconnecting people with the land. Permaculture's principle of designing with nature, rather than against it, echoes anarchist decentralism, local solutions, self-regulation, diversity as resilience. Projects such as NEP Estate in the UK, Indigenous-led rewilding in North America, and permaculture farms across Africa and Latin America show that ecological restoration is a cultural act. It builds pride, belonging and care, challenging the capitalist view of land as resource to be mined. These projects cannot connect back to earlier sections on glimpses of the future. They are not fantasies, but practices already alive. DIY, repair, upcycling and everyday craft. Creativity flourishes not only in spectacular festivals or ecological projects, but in daily acts of repair and craft. Repair cafes, bike co-ops, upcycling initiatives resist the planned obsolescence that drives consumer capitalism. They build skills, relationships and resilience, offering practical alternatives to the waste economy. As with squats and autonomous centres discussed earlier, these spaces are simultaneously cultural and political, places where people learn to live differently. Craft itself is a quiet rebellion. Sawing, woodworking, brewing, music making, all are ways of reclaiming production from corporations and embedding it into the community. The aesthetic is inseparable from the political, Beauty created and shared without profit is a seed of autonomy. Cannabis, altered states and joy. The normalisation of cannabis, the ending of the drug war, are equally cultural questions. Earlier section examined the lies told about harm and the comparison with alcohol. Here the emphasis is on creativity and joy. Altered states, whether through cannabis, psychedelics, or simply music and dance, have long been central to cultural innovation. Criminalising them was always about control. Ending prohibition means recognising pleasure as part of collective life rather than a site of repression. The drug war has destroyed lives, filled prisons and stigmatised communities. Anarchism reframes the issue. People should be free to experiment with mind and body, provided it is done with care and respect. Creativity, relaxation and altered consciousness are part of the texture of everyday life, not pathologies to be policed. And I've just literally submitted a book called Drugs, An Anarchist Perspective to Drugs and Addiction, which should be out pretty soon. Virtual reality and embodied creativity. Some argue that future societies will retreat into virtual reality, a techno-utopia where daily needs are simulated away. Yet this is an illusion. As earlier sections reminded us, low-tech federations are often more resilient than fragile digital networks. No headset can substitute for sharing a meal, planting a garden, repairing a bike, or dancing in a field. Virtual platforms may supplement, but they cannot replace embodied creativity. Human beings are not brains in jars. We are bodies in relation to land and each other. Everyday life as revolution. Ultimately, the vision is simple. Life without the work weekend split, where creativity and care flow into each other, where joy is not a luxury but a shared foundation. Festivals, rewilding, music, art, communal kitchens, repair cafes, these are not side projects but the beating heart of a free society. They embody what Colin Ward once called anarchy in action of everyday life. The lesson: revolution does not have to look grim or puritanical. It can be colourful, playful and alive. The punchline is as liberating as it is light-hearted. In a free society, you can do what you want, so long as it's shared, cared for and part of the common song. And tomorrow we'll talk about anarchism and art, which I'm sure Nick will have some things to say about.